Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled Karen manager thinks I'm a regular employee and ends up slapping me. She claims she is superior to me, but I am actually her boss. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. The story starts like this. When you work in retail, you get used to the idea pretty quickly that there will be many Karen customers. The ones who want to complain and throw a fit thinking they will get a discount or get to return something that they shouldn't be allowed to. The things that I have enough stories for during my time working in retail and then owning my own store, I could fill a book with them. I did not think that the biggest Karen though I would meet on my retail journey would be another employee. Not only that, but it would be after I was an owner, meaning my own employee was the one that decided to be a Karen at me. I would like to point out that it is a decently sized chain store, so I could easily imagine an employee not knowing that I was the owner. Usually, it takes a while before I meet everybody, or they find out some other way who I am. I'm almost always working on the floor and wear the same kind of uniform that all the employees do. I have a mindset that just because I own the store, that doesn't make me a better person than anyone else working there. No matter if they are a manager or a teenager that got a job checking people out. Karen somehow slipped under the radar of me noticing her and her ever finding out who I was. Either way, she was promoted to being a manager after our old one went on maternity leave and then informed us that she wouldn't be coming back afterwards. I usually split the responsibility of hiring and promoting with somebody else, and he was the one that promoted Karen. On paper, she looked qualified and ready for a promotion, so I have no blame or bad feelings towards the person who promoted her. For some people, a little bit of power goes way to their head, and for Karen, it did that immediately. I heard whispers of employees talking about a manager always yelling at them and telling them they were doing things wrong and could get fired for that. Keep in mind, managers at my store have zero firing power, so she knew that what she was saying was all complete lies to scare employees. I had no idea who they were talking about at the time though, and planned to get to the bottom of it and talk privately with those employees. I found out later it was Karen, but not before I had my own interaction with her. So I went outside to have a smoke break. Perk of being the boss is I can give myself a break, and right after I lit my cigarette, Karen came outside too. Karen, what the hell do you think you're doing? Me, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm having a cigarette break. Karen, I didn't authorize you to go on a break. Me, I don't need any authorization to go on a break. Didn't you not know that? I was starting to figure out that she might not have known who I was, but she was not gonna shut up long enough for me to keep talking and tell her. Karen, plus you cannot smoke while on the shift. I can take you into the office right now and have you fired for smoking. I am banning all employees from smoking those disgusting things starting right now. She then proceeded to slap the cigarette right out of my mouth, and I was in shock for a moment. Also, I'm well aware about the dangers of smoking and that it is bad for my health. My point in this is she had no right to dictate what anybody could or couldn't do outside of the store. I was angry about her throwing hands and slapping me. Me, that does it. I think we're going back to the main office because I have some papers to file to have you fired. Karen, please, you're a nobody. I'm a manager here and that means I'm the boss of you. Nobody is gonna believe you over me. Me, you really have no clue about anything, do you? I own the damn store and you just had the nerve to put hands on me. I promise that you will leave this building fired within the next hour. You can decide if it is by choice or by being dragged out by security. I think she still didn't believe that I was the owner and we both went into the back office area together. She just sat in silence as I logged onto my computer and started typing away for the paperwork I needed. I think that it is then when it clicked and she started apologizing to me and saying that she didn't know who I was. That she was trying to be a good manager and not let lower employees break rules. I did not care about anything she had to say because I knew she was about to be fired. I had something urgent on my computer and I was glad that it clicked before I finished with Karen. It was a report about an employee being attacked by another one in the store, and attached was a video from the security. I could see Karen clear as day hitting another employee in the head for reasons I didn't know and did not need to know. All that mattered was she abused her power and had broken the law by assaulting my employee. She did not know what I was looking at, so I told her to wait in my office and I would be back. I ended up locking her in before calling the cops and tracking down the employee in the video. I started apologizing to him and telling him that Karen was being fired and police were coming to arrest her for assault as we spoke. I told him that if any manager yells at him or any other employee, I want him to come and find me because I don't allow that kind of behavior. I asked if he would be willing to talk to the police about what happened, and he agreed. I also let him know after that I was sending him home for the rest of the day fully paid, as well as the store paying any medical bill if he felt he had to get checked out by a doctor. Karen put 2 and 2 together and possibly looked at my computer and saw the video. She was banging on the door and screaming to be let out and that she was being held against her will. Where I am, I had a right to hold her in my office until police arrived since she was considered a threat. Her behavior when they came showed that she was a threat, so she wouldn't be able to claim any different. The employee talked to the police and Karen was dragged out of the store in handcuffs. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I had to censor a large portion of the post there because there was just too much information about OP, and it would be kind of easy to identify who OP potentially is, and I don't want to dox anybody in my videos. Either way, fortunately, we also have an update to the story. Update to the story. I know you have all been dying to hear an update about the Karen manager situation, so here it is. A lot has happened since I last shared my experience, and I must admit I completely forgot to mention one very important detail. I of course also pressed charges against Karen for assaulting me during our infamous encounter. So after the whole ordeal, I went down to the police station to file my report and give my statement. I provided them with a copy of our security footage, which clearly showed Karen slapping the cigarette out of my mouth and hitting me. It turns out this was not her first rodeo. She had a history of getting aggressive with other coworkers, but somehow managed to always wiggle her way out of trouble. Well, not this time. The legal process took a few months, but I was determined to make sure Karen faced the consequences of her actions. As I mentioned before, the other employee she assaulted also pressed charges, and we joined forces to build a solid case against her. Our combined evidence was overwhelming, and Karen could not talk her way out of this one. So the day finally came for the trial, and I was there to testify alongside my brave employee. It was nerve-wracking, but we were both steadfast in our commitment to justice. And it paid off. The jury found Karen guilty of assault on both counts. As a result, she was sentenced to jail time and required to attend anger management classes. The look on Karen's face when the verdict was read, I cannot even describe it. It was a mix of shock, disbelief, and a realization that her reign of terror had come to an end. And while I don't take pleasure in someone else's misery, it felt good to know that my employee and I had put a stop to her abuse. As for my store, things have been running smoothly since Karen's departure. I've taken extra care to ensure that our new managers are respectful, competent, and supportive of their teams. My employees know they can come to me with any concerns, and I will always have their backs. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I am so glad that the story ended on a good note. Karen got exactly what bullies like her deserve. In addition, it's so good to see that OP stands up for his employees, and he seems to be a really good boss. Props to him and his team. Either way, if you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and maybe even like the video, because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. The next one is titled Wholesome Revenge. Our 3 children have been social distancing at home since school closed in our state in March. And by the way guys, this is an older story from during the pandemic. Anyway, we got 3 children, Moody 15 female, Magellan 11 male, and the Dictator 4 male. The husband and I are essential workers and are gone a lot, and things at home have been collapsing into a pseudo Lord of the Flies. About Magellan, he is on the spectrum and is genuinely one of the nicest kids you will ever meet. He is kind, compassionate, absolutely brilliant, and will find something good about every person and every situation. His ability to find joy in small things makes me so grateful for him. He is the kid bullies will fight to protect. If he ever got into a fight, he would literally say, "That was bad and I'm upset. The kid looked really nice today before he hit me." I say all of this to say that it takes a lot to piss Magalan off, but if you do, the result will be a precisely calculated revenge plot. Anyway, the husband and I keep telling Moody not to ask the boys for their snacks. She is the oldest and the boys adore her. This usually results in her getting whatever she asked for through some combination of harassment, manipulation, and guilt. It's not fair to them and we wanted to stop, but with work we are just not at home to see it all. On Friday, she asked Magalan for the chocolate milk that came in his lunch delivery. He said no and she started her 2-day campaign of harassment, none of which we knew about until Sunday night, when she asked in front of us for the chocolate milk. Magalan looked disappointed, said fine, and handed the milk to his sister. It happened so fast that we didn't even react. She slunk off to the kitchen to enjoy the spoils of her victory. Magalan did nothing once she left the room but sit on the carpet and smirk. What Moody never stopped to consider was that Magalan hates chocolate milk. He hates it so much in fact that he never bothered to refrigerate the carton. He instead stashed the chocolate milk in a bookshelf and let it cook for 2 days, all the while she harassed him. The calm demeanor and the smirk on his face was him simply waiting to hear the screaming coming from the kitchen when she opened the carton and took a sip. Moody did not let him down. Within seconds, screaming erupted from the kitchen, punctuated with gross, disgusting, and "Oh my god, Magalan!" Magalan did not move from the carpet and instead sat still and said in the quietest voice, "Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey," before bursting into maniacal laughter. It was glorious. He exploited her obnoxious behavior and coolly planned his vengeance. He felt the teenage monster in a way that the adults have not come close to. I am damn proud of that boy. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know if you have ever gotten similar satisfying petty revenge on someone in your family. Anyway, the next one is an Am I the Jerk story. I have moved out 3 times so far. I moved away to California for a year and a half after high school, it didn't work out, moved back home. After a few months I got a place a couple towns over with 3 roommates. 2 of the roommates left halfway through, forcing us to break the lease because we couldn't afford it, so I moved back home. Moved out a 3rd time after a couple months and did a year lease with my best friend at an apartment in the same town, and then moved back home after because I'm leaving in 5 months to move to Georgia with my current girlfriend and nobody will sign a 5-month lease. I don't feel great about it, but I'm 23 and for the 3rd time I've been forced to move back in with my parents. So yesterday I was out shoveling the driveway so it would be done before my parents woke up. The next door neighbor was out too and he comes over and asks me how things are going. He very quickly mentions how I am too old to still be living with my parents. I'm already embarrassed enough by it as it is, but I know I have solid plans to move out again in 5 months. I did not think this was worth mentioning to him as I feel like he has no business caring about his next door neighbor's life. I get heated very quickly because I was honestly taken back by his comment. I stop him mid-sentence and mention to him, "Doesn't your daughter still live with you? Your daughter who's like 35? Your daughter along with her husband and like what, 5 or 6 kids? Don't they still live here with you?" He starts yelling that I am rude to mention that, how it's not the same thing, how they have kids and it's a different circumstance, etc. I'm getting more and more frustrated, it's 7 in the morning and I have work in an hour. I decide to just walk away and continue shoveling when I see him start to effing fling his driveway snow into my driveway. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Are you 6 or something? My dad wakes up around this time and sees us outside arguing, so he comes out and starts arguing with him himself. I go back inside and get ready for work, and here I am after work wondering if I crossed the line by mentioning his daughter. I really don't think I did, but it's starting to eat at me a little bit. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think that OP is the a-hole or not? In my opinion, OP was definitely not the a-hole because this is clearly a nosy neighbor that sticks his nose into affairs that have nothing to do with him and he should just mind his own business. Honestly, I hate neighbors like that. What the hell does he have to do with OP? Why does he even care? Anyway, comment number 1 said, not the a-hole, what's the saying? Those who live in glass houses should not throw stones? Funny how his kid is at home, but that's somehow different. Isn't she too old to be living with her parents? Comment number 2, you are never too old to live at home with family. Nothing says that you have to ever move out. My parents took in my sister and her kids for 6 years. They moved out when my sister got remarried and moved for work. My brother lived at home until 29. They paid rent. Took care of things my parents couldn't do at their age. I stayed home until 24 for college and helping with my nana. She passed and I moved out. As long as you have your parents' blessing, you're fine. I mean, you woke up early to clean the snow, you seem like a good son, not the a-hole. And the next one is titled Homeowner Association Revenge. So, about 4 years ago, I used to live in a nice HOA in a small town in Texas and enjoyed having only one neighbor over my backyard fence. The plot was about 2 acres and the other side of the backyard butted up to a hayfield. The stars were beautiful at night because of virtually no light pollution. Until the neighbor decided to install an incredibly bright security light over their back porch aimed right at my back patio and bedroom windows. I tried to ignore it at first and put shades in the bedroom, but out on the patio it was like having a bright LED headlight in your face all night. I consulted the HOA about adding a privacy addition to my fence to increase its height, and they said no because it's already at the 8 feet maximum allowed height. They said that there was nothing in the bylaws or whatever about bright lights, so there was nothing they could do. So for diplomacy, I hated for this to be the thing where we finally had a formal greeting after 3 years of back porch waves, but I walked over and rang the doorbell with $20. I politely explained how the light was causing the aforementioned nuisance and asked if there was any way I could convince him to point the light down or in a different direction, and even offered them to buy him a case of beer, the $20 out of goodwill, and even a new motion sensing light. He seemed nice and agreed to point it down, but after waiting a month, nothing changed. I went back to have another polite conversation and he said he had changed his mind and was gonna leave it on every night and leave it pointed as it is. Petty revenge. Needless to say, I was a bit upset diplomacy failed and started figuring out how to win. If the military taught me anything, there's always ways to adapt and overcome. So I started researching fast-growing plans to create big privacy walls and reading through the HOA bylaws and city-state ordinances about what I could or couldn't plant, and if there were any repercussions for encroachment across the property line. I quickly discovered running bamboo, despite being very invasive, would grow super fast to make the neighbor's house and light disappear from the view, and there was nothing on the HOA, state or city books to prevent me from planting it or causing legal recourse if it spread and grew on his side of the fence. The only thing he could do is cut anything that grew on his side of the line. So I pulled the trigger and planted a bunch of golden bamboo, which grows and spreads crazy fast in Texas and grows up to 20 feet tall. I didn't care if it took over the fence line because his house is 15 feet from the fence while mine was 50 yards away, so I planted a bunch right against the fence and only put root barrier on my side to prevent it from spreading into my yard. Within 6 months his house and light were gone from the view, replaced by a pretty bamboo jungle row at the edge of my yard. Within 1 year he complained it was growing into his yard via mailed letters, but they went right into the trash with no response. He rang my doorbell once and I looked at him through the window, but just did not answer the door. I unexpectedly sold the house and moved 2 years after planting for a career opportunity, and it's been 2 years since then I sold, and I just checked the property on Google Earth and his entire backyard is now bamboo. And yeah, Ripe Stars OP in this story is certainly a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely brilliant revenge, 10 out of 10. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.